If you ever needed any indication as to how brain-dead studio executives are, then look no further than the TED series defying all odds and managing to universally win over audiences, becoming the most watched original series on Peacock, as well as the #1 comedy streaming in the US for over 2 months straight. Yet Peacock still thought about canceling it. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Come on, Mark, really? You're making a video about the fact that the TED series was almost cancelled? Running out of ideas much? Shut up. Just shut up. See, on one side, I think this is yet another sign of how flawed the exclusive to streaming concept is, and how unsustainable the entire streaming market is right now. But also, we've since gotten the announcement of a new TED series, this one being animated. It took me a couple times of reading the headline to even realize what they meant by this. So season 2 of the TED series is gonna now be animated? Well, that's dumb. Oh wait, no, do they mean we're gonna get season 2 of the live-action TED show, along with a cartoon version? What? Is it just me, or does that sound completely insane? And stupid. The reasoning for Peacock wishing to cancel the series came from one simple factor: budgets. With the TED show costing a monumental $8 million an episode for what's essentially a sitcom, it's no surprise that they wouldn't want to pump that much more money into it. But then, I'd have to argue, why even make a series if you know that creating more of it won't be feasible? It's like the popularity of the TED show was a shock to them, and so now they have to scramble to find the funds for a season 2 to ensure they don't lose the momentum. But I have to assume as something to fall back on in case the budget couldn't be acquired, they hastily decided to greenlight this animated series so at least something would come out. But I guess everything went a little too well for them, and so now they're stuck with 2 new TED series in production at the same time. Again, it's very messy and certainly not the situation you'd want to find yourself in, God forbid people like your show. What are we gonna do? And so today, I wanted to talk about a variety of things, and by variety I mean 2. How not only the possibility of not going ahead with the second season of the TED series is the perfect encapsulation of everything currently wrong with the television industry, but also how making a TED cartoon is stupid and lame and defeats the whole purpose of the franchise, and how it's only gonna confuse people and be dumb and only serve to hinder the second season of the real show. So yeah, first of all, something folks are becoming quite aware of over the past few years is that TV shows have been getting way too expensive. Of course, you always had those series that looked to have a bigger budget than your average television program. However, once streaming came along, with movies and TVs now being put right against each other, there also being a bunch of high-profile films to either come to streaming after a short theatrical run, or even on the same day as their launch in theaters, that it's only raised expectations for TV too. There's now an expectation to try and catch up and match a theatrical quality. That's not to even mention the competition between different streaming services, each trying to acquire the next big budget show that'll ensure folks have to pay another monthly subscription. And so as a result of all this, we've now started to see TV productions where a single episode can rival the budget of a full movie. A relatively cheaper movie albeit, but these aren't prices to scoff at. Amazon Prime pumped $715 million into a single season of its Lord of the Rings series. How in any world could you ever expect to make that back? This is also a massive contributing factor as to why most shows now only get a few episodes per season. Gone are the times of the 26-episode season. Now you're lucky to get it, and it's because of one simple thing. This shit is too expensive and not sustainable in any way. Because your shit is being dumped onto a streaming service, it's tough to grasp how successful that show is actually doing, unless the studio decides to, I don't know, release the watch time numbers. But even then, oh, this show got 1 billion hours of watch time. Great, wonderful, what the fuck does that mean to me? But it's also near impossible to grasp how much money that series is making you. You get commercial revenue, sure, although I'm positive at a fraction of the cost TV once got you. But other than that, all you can do is check out the subscription numbers around the time the show premiered and try and see if there's any correlation between its release and an increase in subscribers. But even that can't be very accurate. Which leads us directly into the TED series. By far, one of the most impressive things that show managed to do was match the animation quality seen in the movies.
There's so much passionate work done on the animation quality of the TED series.
I'd say it's about on par, if not a little better at times. I mean, it has been 9 years since TED 2, somehow. But that great animation came with a great big price tag. And that price tag was $8 million per episode, with the overall budget for the entire series landing around the $65 million mark, which again is mind-blowing for a 90s sitcom. It leaves Peacock screwed because now the TED TV show needs to bring a monumental amount of eyes to their streaming service, or else it won't be worth the investment. And they need to make back that investment so they can start planning ahead for future series they want to put in production. Those of which could also cost a similar amount, if not more than the TED show. I mean, this is the same company that paid for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie to release on their service in the same day as theaters. That couldn't have been cheap. And oh, what do you know? Now the FNAF movie has miraculously disappeared from there. If I were to guess, it was probably to take whatever it would have cost to keep it there and use that to start up a contract with a different new movie instead. It's all about grabbing people's attention. This new movie is going to be exclusive to this streaming service. Better get it. The FNAF movie came and went, and therefore folks are going to be less likely to subscribe to our service for it. Get rid of it. Save that money for something else. It just is not sustainable. Funding a TED Season 2 probably wasn't even on Peacock's radar when making the first, because they were already busy thinking about what the next $65 million project they want to invest all our money into is next. Instead of having a group of moderately sized shows and allowing them multiple seasons to breathe and slowly build up an audience, we're getting a single 8 at most episode season of a show, and then it fucks off. And then the worst scenario happened. People accidentally loved the TED show. They want a season 2. Hell, I want a season 2. And I'm an asshole. At that point, whatever algorithm the executives have been using to make their decisions for them starts to overheat and combust. How do we make a season 2 of the TED series when we have no money? It seems like this more than anything is what made them panic and decide to greenlight a cheaper animated cartoon to satisfy people, before then proceeding to see just how much the show had been blowing up all over the internet, again for months straight. I have to assume this is when they realized they can't just ignore how much potential is just sitting here, and so scrounged up the funds wherever they could to pay for the second season. And so now, we're stuck in the middle of it all, left with 2 TED series coming out. One people are excited for, and another that people probably barely even realize exists. This is a horrendous decision, and take it from me, I did business studies when I was like 11 years old. This is for a variety of reasons, so let's talk about them. 1. This is only going to confuse the audience. You're not going to be left with having to spend money promoting and advertising 2 series that have the exact same market. There's quite literally no benefit to having 2 TED shows running concurrently. Whatever anybody could possibly want from a TED series is something they're going to get out of the live action season, which has only proved itself as being more than capable of translating the success of the movies into TV. Okay, one of the movies. It's just bizarre, and it's going to be bewildering for your average Joe who just wants to watch the new TED show. Which one is the right one? And as a result, I think it's only going to take attention away from the second season of the live-action series. Attention it will desperately need if they're putting another $65 million into it. 2. Who is working on this feebled animated TED series? Seth MacFarlane? God, I hope not. We've all seen how he handles working on multiple big projects at the same time. Why in any world would I want to watch a TED project without Seth's involvement? He's the literal voice of the franchise. And if he is working on both, then I can only imagine the nightmare result we're gonna get. Constantly moving back and forth between 2 very similar projects, the line would bind to blur at some point and only make it more confusing as to why this is a thing. And so the only way around that problem is to have someone else at the helms. But then, it's like, why even fucking do it if Seth isn't involved? It's stupid, I tell ya. Seth has such a specific voice, writing and directing wise, that an animated series without his involvement can only ever come off as a lame imitation. What would this show look like? Family Guy? That sure would suck. I would hope they would do something more interesting with the art style, but let's be real. If they're making a cartoon with Seth MacFarlane's name attached to it, even if he doesn't want to, they're gonna make it look like Family Guy. And finally, number 3. Doesn't making a TED cartoon completely defeat the point of the entire franchise? Am I in Crazy Town or something? Who could have possibly thought an animated TED series is a smart idea when the entire joke is that it's a CGI bear running around a live-action world? The live-action TED show is funny, even when it isn't. The perfect thing about this concept is that the character doesn't have to be saying anything and you'll still laugh, because it's a stupid fucking bear walking around school where nobody bats an eye. It's normal to everyone.
It's a gateway drug! They talk about it on the news!
Well, what are we supposed to do? Start with heroin?
When you put Ted in a cartoon world filled with cartoon humans, it defeats the entire joke. He no longer stands out. All you're left with is, he likes weed. Weed! I just don't know how there was no point in the decision-making process here where anybody, even that guy right there, stopped and said, wait, why would we make a fucking TED cartoon? I don't know, maybe it'll come out and be the freaking funniest cartoon to ever grace our Rokus, but for me, I just can't help but see this as such a creatively bankrupt idea that will only blow up in Peacock's face. They've put themselves in a corner with hasty decision-making, and it's emblematic of the entire problem with streaming these days. It's not sustainable. And one day we're gonna watch it all crash and burn. Everything is just gonna move back to Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever the fuck comes around. Maybe they'll all just merge into one big mega conglomerate. Oh boy, can't wait for that. Who knows though, maybe I'm just dumb and Peacock genuinely thought having 2 TED series in production at the same time was a smart idea, in which case, they're dumb. But the point to all this is, I'm sick of streaming, I'm sick of the miniseries, I'm sick of the 6-episode special events, I hate the bear, not that bear, this bear, I hate everything.